what Senator Chambers said. Too many people have died fighting for the right of him to be able to say it. We all have the right to say what we want.
While all of the senators have an opinion on the issue, is there anything anyone can do to silence Senator Chambers? Dr. Paul Landau is a political science professor at the University of Nebraska, Omaha.
State senators are not subject to recall by the voters, so voters have no recourse. Second of all, there is a censure rule in the rules of the legislature, but it doesn't appear to apply in this case for a variety of reasons. But finally, the legislature can expel one of its own members with a 2/3 vote. The likelihood of that happening, I would have to say, would be nearly non-existent, but it is possible.
Senator Chambers says he will continue to speak out against the police when they are wrong, and he says he will continue to do it his way. Reporting live with photographer M.H. Danker, John Chapman, WOWT 6 News.
Another state senator took the floor in Lincoln with an observation that moved the conversation in a new direction, and you might find this interesting. We'll hear what Senator Dave Bloomfield said coming up tonight after 6:30. We continue to follow a developing story, which was breaking news live at 5.
A crash with multiple injuries. Jessica Gill is live at the scene, 30th and Q.
John Mallory, still a scene here at 30th and Q Streets, as you can see behind me. Just a terrible looking accident sent 4 people to the hospital. At least one of those police say in critical condition. Now, there were a lot of people in and around the area at the time the accident took place, one of which happened to be Omaha City Council member Gary Gurnant. He says he heard a blood-curdling scream following a loud boom. That's when he and others rushed in to help.
But I have to admit, people wanted to help and get those folks out of there.
It's got to be pretty encouraging.
And I'm proud of South Omaha. They came to the rescue, and we got fast service too from Station 31.
Still no word as to whether any of these occupants were wearing seatbelts at the time, but officers are indeed stressing that seatbelts wearing is very, very important, as you can see. Reporting live with photographer Kyle Beneke, I'm Jessica Gill, WOWT 6 News.
An 8-year-old girl dies after being rushed to a hospital with a head injury. Ava Imus of Fremont was in 2nd grade at Belfield Elementary. She was hurt initially at the home on the east side of Fremont. A 17-year-old who lives here drove Ava to the hospital, but his car collided with another car at 23rd and Broad Street last night, not far from the hospital. WOWT 6 News is in Fremont tonight investigating the circumstances that led to this tragedy. We'll have more tonight on 10 at 10.
Well, thieves looking for copper cause expensive damage in a Sarpy County neighborhood. This is a WOWT 6 News Crime Stoppers alert. May look like a bunch of plastic spaghetti, but this is expensive fiber optic cable all cut up. It runs from a locked box in a new neighborhood just north of Werner Park in Sarpy County. Sheriff's detective hopes that someone will pass along the name so we can find who is responsible.
Boxes, that's a new thing that the companies are doing, going fiber optic. So this may be something that pops up here. We're kind of in the beginning stages of it right now.
The thieves didn't get any copper, but what they did to the fiber optics will cost Cox Cable nearly $15,000. If you can provide any leads, call Sarpy County Crime Stoppers at 402-592-STOP, and it's case number 1430. Problem is developed in La Vista near 72nd and Parkview Boulevard, and it's not so much near it, but on it. Pavement is sinking in the southbound lanes and northbound lanes between Parkview and Valley Road. The city crews don't know why, but everything should be reopened by this Saturday except one northbound lane.
The year was 1992. A man walked into a classroom at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln with a rifle and tried to open fire, but his rifle jammed. A judge is now deciding what to do with the man who was ruled not responsible because he's insane. Arthur McElroy is now 66 years old. A psychiatrist has told a Lancaster County judge that McElroy is still mentally ill, but also sick and does not pose a threat to anyone. His attorneys are asking the judge to either release him outright or place him in a nursing home. A ruling is expected next month. They're still healthy. That's the good news so far concerning 5 aid workers brought to Omaha this month to be monitored for Ebola. A spokesman at the Nebraska Medical Center says the 5 are showing no symptoms of the deadly virus. The incubation period is 21 days for Ebola, so they will have to wait a few more days. We woke up to this breaking news this morning. Breaking news that it appears a Germanwings passenger jet was deliberately crashed into the French Alps this week.
Investigators say that information from the cockpit voice reporter tells them the co-pilot was alone at the controls and the captain locked out of the cockpit, and that's when the plane began its fatal descent.
He knocked to be asked to be let into the cockpit, and there was no response from the co-pilot.
Well, the co-pilot was German. Police took up positions outside of his home. A possible motive is not yet known. And meanwhile, victims' families from Spain and Germany arrived in a village near the crash site. They are mourning a terrible loss. Dramatic moment caught on video about this time last night, a tornado bearing down on the city of Moore, Oklahoma.
Watch this. It's difficult to see the tornado, but easy to see that a semi was blown over as it marched across Interstate 35. The men pulled over to offer help to the truck driver.
There were a total of 8 tornadoes reported in Oklahoma and northwestern Arkansas last night. It includes the cities of Moore, Oklahoma City, and Tulsa. The damage severe and widespread. Not as severe as tornadoes in this region in the past, when one person was killed, though. 2 years ago, a massive F5 tornado killed 24 in Moore and injured dozens. After this last night, we're hearing a lot of references to deja vu.
We've been down this road before. We know what to do, and I'm just very grateful that we have so many people that worked so hard over the night to make sure that people are safe.
This is kind of like a junior tornado for us, so we're very fortunate that no one lost their life.
The governor also made mention that the neighborhood she toured today has been hit by 4 or 5 tornadoes before. She has lost count. Omaha Douglas County Emergency Management is offering a new app now that severe weather week is here.
It is called Ping 4 and it sends weather and other messages directly to a smartphone or Droid. Standard rates apply when using the app. Alerts can be sent to users in well-defined geographic areas, so the alerts that only affect your neighborhood are sent out.
You can notify users that are just in certain neighborhoods. We can notify people in certain, like in a shopping mall, and we can notify people in a smaller area, like a building and even a wing of a building.
The app is free. It was used a few years ago to notify people in the area surrounding Boston after that marathon bombing there.
And this reminder, the Weather Authority is offering the storm call service once again. When a storm is coming, those who subscribe receive a phone call or email from Chief Meteorologist Mike LaPointe, but only when you're in the storm's path. And you can sign up on WOWT.com.
I can tell you it's very, very handy to have that too. Used it quite a bit last year. Right now we are talking some rain mixing with some snow right here in the metro area. And as expected, it'll be passing through for the next several hours. Not a lot of precipitation or accumulation expected, but definitely some slippery spots out there. You can see as we take you down to the city streets here in Omaha, we've got the rain and the light snow. The blue is all snow. And again, that's going to be passing through here over the next couple of hours. So kind of be on the lookout for that. Could see a few slick spots. Temperatures are in the upper 30s right now in the region. We're going to keep that in the forecast at least through about 9 o'clock, then just mainly cloudy skies, 33 degrees at midnight. It will start off very cold tomorrow, but a nice warm up on the way for the weekend. Details in just a few minutes.
Well, the idea is to crack down on those short-term loans with high interest rates, and how that can be done later in this newscast.
Up next in this hour-long newscast, the United States on attack in Iraq. There's something different about this one.
You're watching the Heartland's favorite choice for local news with John Nicely, Mallory Maddox, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Mike LaPointe, and sports with Ross Jernstrom. This is WOWT 6 News, live at 6.
Top stories.
A woman says she was sexually assaulted by a man she met through a dating app. What security measures are in place on different dating sites?
Expect a few slick spots for the commute tomorrow morning as we're tracking freezing temperatures in your hour-by-hour forecast.
The news you trust, 10 at 10 tonight.
Spring fever? AC Nelson has the cure. Get camping in our exclusive Patriot travel trailer. Put $0 down from $127 a month for $10,988. Turn back time in our new Shasta Air Flight reissue. Stop fifth wheel envy here. We have the area's largest selection. Buy from the #1 Cherokee dealer in the nation. We will clearly save you money. AC Nelson Spring Fever sale ends March 31st, 118th and L. Lifetime memories begin here.
Chevy trucks always find new roads to conquer. We started with the family of the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road. And now, introducing the pickup that unanimously won the 2015 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. All made of high-strength steel, only at one place, your Chevy dealer. Right now, current lessees can lease this 2015 Silverado Double Cab for $269 a month. See your Heartland Chevy dealers.
WOWT 6 News continues with stories that we are tracking. For the first time, the United States is taking part in the fight to retake the Iraqi city of Tikrit.
And the Defense Department released video showing U.S. airstrikes in that city, which has been under ISIS control. Iraqi forces and Shiite militias backed by Iran have been fighting here, but as a condition for U.S. involvement, the Shiite militias pulled out of the area. And a picture here telling a lot about what happened not far from this first responder in Virginia today.
A very sad situation. Authorities tried to save the life of a 3-year-old boy who was in a car that stood in the path of a train. A father and his 3 children were inside the car, which was crossing the tracks just as the train went through. The boy died at his hospital. Only his father was injured. The train crossing is marked with signs, but it does not have lights or a crossing gate.
In Ohio, a man trying to get away in an SUV crashes into an interesting place. The man will have to answer to a judge and a higher authority. Has to explain why he was driving a stolen SUV and why he refused to give up and why he drove into a church. The driver and his passenger had to climb out of the vehicle and walk across the altar where they were arrested. Now here's Mallory, more local news.
A community rallies behind a family in need of a new handicapped van. As we see on WOWT.com, Casey Christensen of Missouri Valley is disabled. The van his mom uses to get him around, it just keeps breaking down. A polar plunge is being planned for this weekend to help raise money to buy him a new one. And there's another fundraiser planned for April 25th. We'll have all the information about this in our story. It is a very heartwarming story. We invite you to watch it at WOWT.com. Well, as our hour-long newscast continues, let the rush begin. Sales are expected to sizzle for a new smartphone. And later in sports, the Great Outdoor Report is looking for a nice spot to go fishing.
In the fraction of time we spend driving in reverse, about 500,000 accidents occur each year, which is why the Infiniti QX60 has world's first safety technology available, like backup collision intervention, which can brake even before you do, to help keep everyone safe. Lease the all-wheel drive Infiniti QX60 for $399 a month. Visit your local Infiniti retailer.
My neighbor says we can get gig internet speed from CenturyLink. If I had a gig, how long would it take to download an HD movie?
About the time it takes me to eat a cookie.
Oh, that's really fast.
CenturyLink is rolling out 1 gig internet service near you. Call to check for availability.
Let's download the sequel. Delicious.
It's the One for Everyone sales event this month at Village Point Toyota, and this is the one you can't afford to miss. Get the Toyota you want at a price you want on one of Omaha's biggest Toyota selections, like one of our all-new 2015 Camrys. Save $4,000 off MSRP with over 40 to choose from. That's $4,000 off MSRP. And remember, the Toyota you want comes with Toyota Care. Get no-cost scheduled maintenance for 2 years or 25,000 miles and 24/7 roadside assistance. Don't miss the One for Everyone sales event going on now at Village Point Toyota.
We always knew that when we had another baby, we would love it if I could stay home. The kids shape what we do. Everything's about them. So we had to make a lot of changes. Quick Balance is this really nice feature of the Bank of the West app. The more I check into my balance, the easier it is for me to stay on track. You don't even have to log in. Hold on tight. You're on call, 24/7. Every minute that the app saves me is a minute that I can spend with my family. And that means everything to me.
Factory authorized 72-month 0% financing on all 2015 Malibus and Cruises, plus $500 bonus cash. Your way, the best way. Huber!
No one sells electronics for less. That's the Nebraska Furniture Mart promise. That's my expectation.
Your look at local stocks, sponsored by Bank of the West.
WOWT 6 News continues, and we're looking out for your money. A consumer watchdog for the Federal Reserve is proposing tighter rules on payday loans. Those are the small short-term loans that people take out and agree to pay back quickly. The problem is people often roll over or refinance the loans and rack up debt from high interest rates and fees. Among other things, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau would require lenders to consider the income of their customers, their other financial obligations, and their borrowing history.
Get ready for another rush on smartphones. This time we're talking Samsung. The company says it will start taking pre-orders for its new redesigned Galaxy SX and SX Edge tomorrow. Both phones are made of aluminum and glass instead of plastic, and they'll be available for purchase April 10th. The same day, by the way, that Apple begins taking pre-orders for the Apple Watch.
5 powerful radar sweeps, delivering you 5 times more coverage. WOWT 6 is the weather authority.
Well, our rain showers are now changed over to some snow showers. Step outside, you can see what I'm talking about. A little heavy from time to time, but expecting, again, little to no accumulation. But that's going to be the story. Kind of keep that in mind here over the next couple of hours. We're going to still see some lingering rain and snow showers across the region. Once that passes, which will be about 9, 10 o'clock, clearing the entire area, we're going to stay cloudy but cool on Friday. But a nice warm up on the way just in time for the weekend. Here's the very latest on our Sky Alert Live radar. Again, you know what the rain looks like. The blue is the wet snow mixing in. And as we take you down to the city streets from Carter Lake over toward Council Bluffs, right on down Dodge there over toward Boys Town, we are seeing some rain changing and mixing with some wet snowflakes. Temperatures right now are in the upper 30s, so not freezing at this moment, but you know how that goes. Could be just a little slippery and some lower visibilities with that moisture falling. You'll notice not too far away from North Bend over toward Fremont. Again, as you work your way into parts of Waterloo, all looking at some very light snow. I say light snow, but it's that wet snow, and it's mainly rain the farther south you go down around the Nebraska City area. Bigger picture indicates once that clears, we're still talking mainly cloudy skies here across our area, and that moisture continues to track off to the south and to the east at about 20 miles per hour. So here's your hour-by-hour forecast to help you plan your evening. You're going to need the umbrella or you're going to need those windshield wipers with that wet snow falling here across our area. By 9 o'clock, you'll still see it across parts of, let's say, Douglas County down towards Sarpy and Pottawatomie County. Notice the temperatures falling from the upper 30s to the middle 30s. Eventually, by tomorrow morning, this is at 7 a.m., we're talking partly to mostly cloudy skies, but temperatures will be below freezing. So any wet spot could freeze over to some icy spots. So just use some caution. Most of that moisture should be out of here in time. That's how it looks. And forecast-wise tomorrow, still in the 40s, 45 degrees at 5 o'clock. We could see a little light mix like we're seeing right now, but not until the evening hours. I think maybe 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. So we're going to keep it out until then. Matter of fact, let me show you here as we can pull it out on our hour-by-hour forecast. There's the clock. Most of the day, a lot of cloud cover on top of us. Again, only 40s across the region. There's that moisture starting to sneak in, about a 30% chance. 53 on Saturday, 61 on Sunday. We may be dodging a few raindrops from time to time. And then 70s on the board Monday and Tuesday, even Wednesday with just a slight chance of rain. Nighttime lows will start to come up from the 20s into the 30s and eventually into the 40s. And just a reminder, if you'd like to get Storm Call, just go to our Facebook page or our webpage at WWT.com, and you can sign up for it. It's a great feature to have. You know, a lot of times during storms, you lose electricity.
Right.
But we can always get through on your cell phone.
It is that time of year again. We heard the sirens being tested yesterday and Storm Call. Good reminders. All right, let's go over to John.
Well, later in this hour-long newscast, I meet up with a gang of great volunteers in Blair, how they're helping their community. Nicely done. But up next, something has happened with the big expectations for a Husker in the NFL draft. And first, local stocks.
or dad, want to share a picture of your little guy or gal? All you have to do is log on to WOWT.com/firstbirthdays. Just upload your photo and tell us about your soon-to-be one-year-old. First Birthdays, sponsored by Children's Hospital and Medical Center.
I should have called Burton.
Call Burton today and get a complete air conditioning system check for $55 and 5 cans of food we will donate to the Food Bank of the Heartland.
UCS Ultimate Chevy Sell Down. Only at the #1 Chevy dealer in Omaha, Greg Young Chevrolet. Save big with Chevy supplier pricing on all remaining new 2014 Chevy models. New 2014 and 2015 Malibu and Cruze. Drive interest-free until 2021 with 0% APR financing for 72 months. This isn't another sale. It's UCS Ultimate Chevy Sell Down. Only at Greg Young Chevrolet. We do the deal.
When you think Honda, think O'Daniel Honda. It's a slam dunk. I'm Matt O'Daniel. Look at these sure shot savings. Brand new 2015 Civic, $149 a month. Brand new 2015 Accord, $169 a month. Honda buyers, you can't miss in March. Slam dunk, $149 a month. Brand new Civic, $169 a month. Brand new Accord. O'Daniel Honda, 15 minutes from anywhere in Omaha, 78th and Dodge, or o'danielhonda.com.
Choosing the best care for your kids is one of those most important decisions. That's why so many parents choose Children's Physicians, because taking care of kids isn't just something we do, it's all we do. Energetically, expertly, with heart and a smile. Plus, we're backed by Children's Hospital and Medical Center. Choose the right pediatrician for your family. Call or visit us online. Children's Physicians. We know children.
Score big with Markdown Madness all month long at Husker Auto Group. Savings are a slam dunk with $10,000 off every Silverado double cab in stock. Lease with nothing due at signing for just $299 a month. Make your best deal, then shoot from the free throw line for more discounts. Make one and get an extra $100 off. Make two and get $250 off. Make all three and get $500 off. Markdown Madness now at Husker Auto Group.
When your plumbing is hurting, just call Burton. Right now, call for our $99 drain special. We'll open any drain, anytime for just $99.
The Weather Authority channel over the air 6.2 and Cox channel 120. Now, news and highlights from inside the WOWT6 Sports Machine.
Hi again, everyone. Former Husker Randy Gregory says he tested positive for marijuana at the NFL Scouting Combine last month and that he failed 2 drug tests at Nebraska last year. Gregory went into February's NFL Combine projected to be among the top 10 picks in the NFL draft and ran a 4.5740. Gregory disclosed his marijuana use in an interview with NFL.com on Wednesday. Gregory understands the failed drug test could hurt his draft position. Gregory recorded 17 sacks over the past 2 years. The NCAA basketball tournament resumes tonight with the regional semifinals in Cleveland and Los Angeles. Kentucky's march to the title goes through Cleveland in the Sweet 16. The top seed in the tournament takes on the 5th seed West Virginia Mountaineers. Kentucky coach John Calipari respects Bob Huggins and his West Virginia team.
His teams, they play, they compete, they play to win. You know, they don't have any fear. I've always respected that.
Here are the matchups tonight in the Midwest Regional. Wichita State and Notre Dame just tipped off, and West Virginia takes on Kentucky at 8:45. In the West Regional, North Carolina meets Wisconsin, and Xavier faces Arizona in the late game.
Now, the Outdoor Report.
It's time now for our weekly Outdoor Report. We're giving you an update on a popular fishing lake in the area. And here to offer information about Lake Wanahoo near Wahoo is the guy who's ready to escape for the Mavs in their NCAA Regional, Greg Wagner of Game and Parks. And Greggy, how does the lake look for fishing? It looks like you're going to skate on that lake.
I'm ready for Harvard, but I better stick to running my nets, I'll tell you that. Let's go, folks, to Lake Wanahoo, just north of Wahoo, 600-plus acre lake, about a half hour west of the metro. And this is indeed one of the state's top fisheries. Let's give you an update on it. It's been open a few years now. We were running nets this past week there. The big story, the northern pike. The average size of northern pike, which are all catch and release, there's one right there, 24 to 28 inches long. Some are 40 inches long in this lake. Now, other fish at Lake Wanahoo looking good, 15 to 18 inch largemouth bass, lots of 1 to 2 pound bullheads, good numbers, but smaller amounts of bluegill and crappie. And there's a few big walleye, 20 to 25 inches in Lake Wanahoo as well. Get more information on this fine fishery that is Lake Wanahoo right there, Game and Parks website, outdoornebraska.org. And back here in the outdoor setting, what do you think?
Are you ready to hit the puck?
I am. Gear courtesy of Mike LaPointe, by the way, who does play hockey himself. All right, let's do it.
Okay, go for it, Greggy. John Mallory, back to you.
Didn't Fred Flintstone used to wear one of those? That's what I thought.
It's a statement.
Well, we have much more to cover in this hour-long newscast.
You're watching WOWT 6 News live at 6.
Truck Month at Woodhouse Ford in Blair. Built Ford tough since 1948. Lease a 2014 Ford F-150 Super Crew, $389 a month. Shop Woodhouse Ford in Blair.
Let's say goodbye to winter and say hello to spring. We're the Metro Omaha Builders Association, and we're the professionals that can make your home and landscaping ideas come to life. Meet us at the Omaha Home Show, March 27th through the 29th at the CenturyLink Center. Thinking about a new kitchen or bath? More outdoor entertaining? Maybe you're ready to build the home you've always dreamed about. We'll show you how to make your home healthier, more comfortable, and more energy efficient at the Omaha Home Show. Find us at omahahomeshow.com.
The first hybrid in America, a Honda. The first to meet the Clean Air Act standards, a Honda. And now we're the first to do something else, the Honda Dream Garage Sales Event! Right now you can get an amazing deal on a Honda Accord, named a 2015 IIHS Top Safety Pick.
The Honda Dream Garage Sales Event. Get a dream deal on an Accord with standard rearview camera. Now at your Honda dealer.
We always knew that when we had another baby, we would love it if I could stay home. The kids shape what we do. Everything's about them. So we had to make a lot of changes. Quick Balance is this really nice feature of the Bank of the West app. The more I check into my balance, the easier it is for me to stay on track. You don't even have to log in. Hold on tight. You're on call, 24/7. Every minute that the app saves me is a minute that I can spend with my family. And that means everything to me.
It's Truck Month at Woodhouse Ford in Blair. Built Ford tough since 1948. Lease a 2014 Ford F-150 Super Crew, $389 a month. Shop Woodhouse Ford in Blair.
The almanac for Omaha today, 50 degrees, the high temperature still below our normal. 25 the low, which is colder than normal too here in our area. If you are headed out this evening, some scattered showers. We're talking rain and snow mixed together, little to no accumulation, tapering off by 9 and then back into the green category. So we get a little chilly, but just mostly cloudy at 11 and 35. The weekend looks pretty warm. We're going to track those numbers coming up in a few minutes.
A Honda Dream Garage Sales Event at the Honda Giant Honda Cars of Bellevue. Drive any new Honda with zero down. Like new Civic, zero down and only $209 a month. Honda Cars of Bellevue, winner of Honda's President's Award and Council of Excellence Award. Serving the heartland for over 30 years, one happy Honda customer at a time. Honda Cars of Bellevue. One small step off Kennedy Freeway, one giant Honda savings store.
It's warming up outside. Is your air conditioner ready? Don't wait until it's hot to find out your AC needs help. Count on Exarban ARS to get your home's cooling system ready now. Maintenance, repairs, new installation. We're the go-to guys for fast professional service. Right now, get our AC system check for only $59. Your Exarban ARS technician will check your air conditioner for proper operation and efficiency for only $59. Exarban ARS. Heating, cooling, plumbing. Comfort.
Spring is sprung, and the Omaha Farmers Market in the Old Market and Exarban Village is right around the corner. Mark your calendars. All the fresh fruits and vegetables and so much more are back starting May 2nd.
Need service fast? Come to Honda Cars of Bellevue and take advantage of no appointment express service.
watching WOWT NBC Omaha. Now, more in-depth, complete breaking news coverage. This is WOWT 6 News, live at 6.
Criticism mounts against Nebraska State Senator Ernie Chambers, who Friday compared police to ISIS, saying if he carried a gun, he would shoot police first and ask questions later like they do.
And that was in reference to a recent Omaha police shooting of an unarmed man who claimed that he had a gun. John Chapman's been following the story live.
Police officials are upset with Senator Chambers again, but this time they say he's gone too far. Senator Chambers says he will not apologize, and he will continue to criticize the police when they do wrong.
So these things happen and you all don't see them, or they make you no difference. But they do make me a difference. I have an obligation to address them. I will continue to do so, and I will do it in my way.
Many senators disagree with the way Chambers delivered his message, and some say he went too far.
I'm demanding accountability. So my request to you, Senator Chambers, is I'm asking for your resignation, effective close of business today. Now, you can sit there and laugh all you want, because that's what you do. You make a mockery of everybody in here.
Political experts say there's not much the legislature can do to silence Chambers. He could be expelled by the body, but that would take a 2/3 majority vote. Reporting live with photographer and major anchor John Chapman, WWT 6 News.
There was a striking moment on the legislative floor this morning when senators were actually discussing Chambers' comments.
And Senator Dave Bloomfield of Hoskins in northeast Nebraska does not condone what Chambers said, but in this moment he didn't talk so much about the comments but about these times that we live in.
There have been a number of us call for Senator Chambers to apologize. Colleagues, I'm tired of phony apologies. Every time a politician gets caught doing something or saying something he shouldn't, they rush to the mic, and if I have offended anybody, I want to apologize. How phony can you get?
Senator Bloomfield went on to tell the story about a moment about a year ago. He was speaking at Wayne State College. A professor was overheard insulting the senator's lack of a college education. Word made its way back to Senator Bloomfield. He says he felt the professor's 2 attempts at apologizing were never sincere.
Senator Chambers, if he decides he owes someone an apology, he will give it to him. I also think he will not give an apology that he doesn't mean. And God bless him for that. I'm sick to death of people giving apologies they don't mean.
And we have posted Senator Bloomfield's entire comment on WOWT.com.